Today's passage to read is from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 24, verse 44 to the end. And we're going to anticipate the Ascension, which takes place tomorrow, 40 days after the resurrection on Easter Day. Luke tells this story twice, once in his Gospel and then with a recap at the beginning of Acts, which is his second volume. The key point which, according to Luke, Jesus is trying to put across to his disciples on this occasion was that everything that had happened to him was according to the purpose of God, that nothing had gone wrong, as it were. But the story of salvation was always meant to include his suffering and death, and then his resurrection, and the preaching of the gospel to all nations. There's hardly a mention and no emphasis on the idea of ascending, going up. Luke simply says Jesus withdrew from them and was taken up into heaven. In Acts we have a slightly more pictorial version. He disappeared in a cloud, and the cloud, of course, is reminiscent of the cloud on Mount Sinai and the pillar of cloud in the wilderness, both signifying God's mysterious presence. There was a cloud at the Transfiguration as well, if you remember. If people have difficulty believing this doctrine, the Ascension, it's often because of the apparently physical nature of Jesus' departure, as if we have to believe that heaven is a location in the sky. I wonder if Lewis Carroll was satirising this approach to religious belief in Alice in Wonderland, when Alice says to the White Queen, "One can't believe in impossible things." "I dare say you haven't had much practice," said the Queen. "When I was younger, I always did it for half an hour a day. Why, sometimes I've believed as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast." Of course, the language of going up is metaphorical. It relates to God being greater and higher and purer than we are. When a child goes up a year at school, they don't go up the staircase necessarily. Or when we go up to town, we don't imagine that town is higher above sea level than home. Most of our language about God is metaphorical because we can find no other way to express our beliefs about the spiritual realm than through comparisons with the material universe that we're more familiar with. And Luke only really relates this incident as a preliminary to the episode which follows, which is all important, the coming of the Holy Spirit at Pentecost, the indwelling presence of Christ in each of us, omnipresent at all times, which the physical person of Jesus could not be. Likewise, we talk of Jesus being seated at the right hand of the Father following the Ascension. Again, metaphorical language, but the point is that one sits when the job is done. So it indicates that he had completed all of his mission, his work, and that as a result, he had the place of greatest honour, from the humiliation of the cross to the glory of God's closest presence. So this episode gives closure, as it were, to the period after Easter of the resurrection appearances, the time when Jesus would unpredictably join the disciples wherever they were and continue his work of teaching and encouraging them, to help them to firmly believe that he had indeed risen. It was important then and now for us to understand that he had not left us. He has not departed, but is simply present in a different way, not visible to the human eye, as so many things are not, but more present indeed than ever before.